It's time to party up and rally around the banner of massively multiplayer games. Hello, my name is GamerZach, and I've been making these kind of list videos for a decade now. And welcome to my 15 upcoming PC MMORPGs in 2023 and 2024 list that I make just for you. We tend to get one good MMORPG a year, but the genre is a really rough landscape, with many games overpromising, staying in development for over a decade, or just games that don't seem to have potential. Because of how this genre has been, I'm being stricter with how many and which games I'm including this year. I do mention some of the long-term developments in the bonus section though. Now, let's get started. Beginning the adventure, we have War of Dragnorox by Triune Studios. Labeled a dynamic warfare MMORPG where dungeon masters will shape the world as you play. This is meant to be a dynamic experience giving a true Dungeons and Dragons feel. Promising events every single day, quests, resources for harvesting and crafting, unlockable zones, and bosses controlled by live dungeon masters on the back end of the game who are constantly evolving the world. That sounds cool, but it would mean that the unique selling point of the game not only relies on constant support from the devs, but fully employed DMs who will continue to run the world. If there's ever a stop in development, the game will basically freeze. Footage seen so far is pretty rough as well, so there's a lot of work to do, though updates are seemingly regular right now, which is good. Interestingly, a very specific release date has been set over a year ahead of it, which is the 1st of September 2023. Generally, MMOs do not have clean or simple developments, and things go wrong all the time. So setting a date is optimistic in my opinion, but it will be impressive if they get it done by that date. Overall, War of Dragnorox is a cool idea, but sounds ambitious on all fronts, and I'd be cautiously optimistic, but leaning on the cautious side more than anything else. Next we have Fractured Online by Dynamight Studios. With the tagline of the first truly dynamic MMORPG, this is certainly talking big. In this open-world sandbox, 3 races provide 3 varying playstyles for you to choose from: demons, wild folk, and humans. Your ability is also more linked to your skill and cleverness, not so much your equipment and level. The environment plays a nice part in the gameplay as well, where weather changes will affect your character depending on the situation. Building also goes beyond player housing, as you, along with others, can build entire cities, with crafting, farming, and trading taking place. Expect PvE and PvP, including sieging cities and your city being sieged, along with big bosses to defeat. It all seems to offer a ton of flexibility in terms of how you want to play and who you want to be, but I am skeptical about how truly dynamic it all can be. Beginning early access on the 15th of September 2022, Fractured Online will continue development into 2023 and will finally be able to see exactly what they can deliver. Going even more peaceful, we have Palia by Singularity 6. A community sim game for you and your friends. This is a peaceful, chill, cozy adventure in a breathtaking new world. Farming, fishing, foraging, cooking, crafting, and bug catching. These are things you can do as you decorate and customize your home and befriend villagers, while also unraveling the mysteries of Palia. Palia is intending to be free to play, with monetized cosmetics, and so far they're saying they're being respectful of your time and effort, and to not overstep with the monetization model, something we should always be attentive to. A chill social MMO is a nice breather from all the combat and PvP-focused games we have already in the genre, and Palia does appear to be turning out nicely. There's been some tests and feedback sounds positive. Meanwhile, it's been going through alpha in 2022, along with more playtests being planned. So I'd expect something more ready for the public sometime in 2023 for Palia. Next up, we've got one that people always ask about. It's Hytale by Hypixel Studios. Embark on a journey of adventure and creativity as Hytale spans the scope of a sandbox game with an RPG in procedural worlds that are home to all sorts of things, from teetering towers to deep dungeons, built block by block. Play as a settler, adventurer, or craftsperson as you advance through the story, alone or in co-op, or with a party of friends. So Hytale isn't just an MMORPG. It's meant to have servers for all kinds of things, and there'll be cinematic tools, modeling and animation tools, in-game scripting, and the ability to edit everything, as the dev tools will be provided as well. Overall, it's basically trying to be its whole own universe of gaming, and despite the differences from Minecraft, it's hard to ignore that this does seem like a competitor. And I'm all for competition in the game dev space, as it makes all games involved better for us. There's just so much to this game, from combat details to character customization to mini-games. So if you're liking what you're seeing and hearing, then have a closer look for all the little details. Hytale has been a long time in the making, and current plans are a 2023 release at earliest. Okay, now that we're a bit into the video, I'm sure you're enjoying it so far. I've spent a lot of time on this, so if you do appreciate what you see here, please do press the like button. It's free and it helps a lot. Now, if you fancy yourself a prophet, write down your prediction in a comment for which 1 or 2 MMORPGs you think will turn out good from this list. And come back in the future to see if you got it right. Alright, next game. Into the Echo by Etlok Studios. A massively multiplayer time travel odyssey. That sounds impressive, but what is it really? Mysterious events are afoot on the planet Rava, and everyone must face what's coming. Master your skills and crafts, become a legendary code breaker, or straight up fight. You'll be able to contribute in a way that you prefer, alongside a hub and spoke style progression system, community challenges, crafting, puzzles, PvP and PvE combat, and I think the unique point here, time travel. You're meant to travel back through time to uncover secrets that can help you in the present. There's also a big focus on the lore and story of the world, with a dedicated lore site in the works. It all sounds like a good idea, and the focus on puzzle solving does provide something different from most other MMOs, even kind of reminding me of that Myst MMO that didn't quite work out in the end. Which also brings me to the point that we haven't seen much of Into the Echo so far. The teaser looks nice, but no real gameplay. I do want an MMO such as this to succeed, but I'm rather wary about how interested the MMO community as a whole would be interested in puzzles and time-traveling detective work. But I am curious to see what they have up their sleeve, so I'll be keeping an eye on Into the Echo moving forward. Next up, we've got Bitcraft by Clockwork Labs. Calling itself a community sandbox MMORPG, Bitcraft is about building towns from small villages into economic hubs, establishing mountain fortresses, and becoming a leader by climbing the political ladder so you can reward your friends and punish your enemies as sovereign. Taking place in a single massive procedural world, the wilderness outside of your town is populated by wildlife, mysterious travelers, and rare materials that you can use or trade. Farming, fishing, mining, and foresting are also all crafts that you can master. Wanting to not just be about combat, Bitcraft aims to incorporate other subgenres like survival, city builders, and strategy games. Visually, it's got a simple but stylistic aesthetic that does look good. Though what makes me concerned is that not much real gameplay has been revealed. It can be total eye candy and have great ideas, but MMOs are notorious for overpromising, so I hesitate to get totally on board with this one until I see more. It was announced a couple years ago and is still building up to the pre-alpha, meaning there's probably a while to go before Bitcraft is completed. But they've been teasing bits of video through 2022, so something playable should be on the way. Moving forward, while keeping an eye on the past, it's Aether's Story by Phanxgames. Fight against the darkness as you explore a pixel world in this retro cooperative adventure. Combat is grid-based, PvP and player versus dungeon, where you master skills and abilities and fight alongside 2 other allies while experiencing quests, puzzles, crafting, characters, dungeons, and seasonal challenges. So obviously this isn't the next great big AAA blockbuster MMO, but Aether's Story does have a lot of nice niche things going for it. Also, over the years, I've seen so many MMORPGs planned for thousands of players only to drop to a handful shortly after launch. So one great thing about smaller MMO developments is that they tend to design things to still be nice and fun regardless of how many people are playing, often leading to a more enjoyable game in the event of a small player base. I also personally love pixel art, and this isn't the absolute best I've seen in the style, but it's easy enough on the eyes. You're able to play the alpha now through itch.io, and it should be going into early access on Steam by the end of 2022. After that, Aether's Story could have any length of development from there, considering it's a small indie company. But if you're looking for something old school but new, then here's one that, at least from the looks of things, is starting to shape up. Still inspired by the old world, it's Ethyrial, Echoes of Yore by Gellyberry Studios. Inspired by old school MMORPGs, uncover secrets, explore new lands, fight monsters, build a home, and craft equipment. You know, the usual trappings of an MMORPG, including a later promise to add a main storyline, dungeons and arenas, PvP matchmaking, spell crafting, a bounty system, dynamic events, and companions. A key ideology for this game is risk-reward, attempting to cater to casual and hardcore players, taking on however much risk they want, as death will be harsh and punishing, even promising some frustration. Visually, it's the kind of old-school 3D which looks okay, but animations do seem a little sluggish. Question for you: do you prefer an old-school MMORPG to have pixel art like in the last game, or to have an old 3D style like this? Anyway, at the moment, they're also planning to eventually have a monthly subscription fee to support the game, aiming for April 2023 to start early access on Steam. How long the game will be in early access is unspecified. So besides being able to play this soon, I'd expect Ethyrial, Echoes of Yore to take a few years before it's considered complete. Now, for a game that's gone through a metamorphosis, it's Embers Adrift by Stormhaven Studios. What used to be the Saga of Lucimia. This has gone through some changes and a rebrand into Embers Adrift. Ignite your adventure and follow the drifting embers into the mysterious and untamed north. Promising a sandbox environment with no quest hubs, no minimaps, no railroads, Here we'll be overcoming impossible challenges in group-based gameplay as we blaze a path through untamed forests and cavernous depths, playing one of many roles in this PvE MMORPG. Okay, so technically this has been a game that's been in production for many years, and I've listed the Saga of Lucimia for many years as well. But it turns out that the founder of Stormhaven Studios hasn't been involved with the game since late 2020, and the rebranding to Embers Adrift seems to be more than just a name change, but actually a pivot in development. So, for now, I'm going to consider this a new game that's different from its previous form, and that Embers Adrift is not the same as the Saga of Lucimia. An exception for circumstances and a bit of just a weird situation overall. Moving on, we have Corepunk by Artificial Core. This one sets itself apart by being kind of like an RTS, in the way that it's a top-down camera with fog of war, but you're playing one character in a seamless open world. This makes exploration a lot more close range, and you'll want to really check those corners and small alleys. With a variety of professions, battlegrounds, monster camps, guilds, farming, questing, and background lore, there is still quite a lot of what you would expect from a typical MMORPG. And the setting is a cool mix of fantasy, sci-fi, cyberpunk kind of thing as well. The nice thing about Corepunk is that it's something a little bit different from the others on this list. So if you're looking for a new MMO with a twist, then this could be for you. We're just going to have to be a bit patient with development. A majority of Artificial Core's employees are Ukrainian, and more important things have come up over the last year that take priority over game dev. Operations have been shifted to Greece, but team members are all over Europe, and it's a tough time for all involved. You can check out the game and sign up for the upcoming closed beta on Corepunk's website, and we'll wait for the next update. And then we've got Blue Protocol by BANDAI Namco Studios. For a while, we were kind of concerned that this project had been abandoned. This is an anime-styled MMO with action combat, a cast of characters, a large open world to explore with climbing and parkour, cosmetics and costumes, and classes to choose from to fight monsters with. Unfortunately for Blue Protocol, there hasn't really been any news for quite some time. Has it been cancelled? Will it even get an Eastern release soon, and maybe a Western release much later? Generally, I wouldn't hold my breath waiting for this. But there was a statement saying that it'll release within, quote, the next few years from 2022. But whether that means soon or not is just a guess, and plans can always change. If you've been looking forward to Blue Protocol, just check in once in a while to see if there's any news, but don't expect anything. So you could be pleasantly surprised one day, unless it's bad news. Then we have a unique one called the Wagadu Chronicles by Twin Drums. The promise of real role-playing in an MMO isn't uncommon, but it's rare that it's actually delivered. The Wagadu Chronicles is a unique one here on the list, at least from what we've seen, where the other interesting NPCs are meant to be actual other players, and there's pen and paper, D&D 5th edition mechanics, and multiplayer synchronous turn-based combat, all in an African setting. I mean, it sounds amazing, but I'm always skeptical whenever any kind of curated experience is left in the hands of players to run. Player-run economies, player-run role-playing, player-run world-building. We've seen many examples of those over the decades, and it's almost never as impressive in reality as it is in the idea. It requires dedication and skill, which, let's face it, the average random MMO player isn't going to execute with much finesse. There are also the usual expected MMORPG features though, including minigames, home building in a village of other homes, questing, crafting, skill trees, and so on. After a successful Kickstarter towards the end of 2020, there have been near consistent monthly development updates, which is good to see. Now, promises are nice and all, but what's really going to matter is the upcoming open alpha. That's when we'll see if the Wagadu Chronicles is truly up to the massive task they've set for themselves. Then, for one that's a surprise success so far, Zenith, The Last City by Ramen VR. When we first saw Zenith a few years ago, almost everyone who saw the initial rough combat footage was skeptical that this was even a real game, let alone that it would turn out to be anything good. An MMORPG built for virtual reality? Maybe a nice experiment at best. Today, it's been in early access through 2022 with thousands of reviews and an overall very positive rating on Steam. Combat is face-to-face, requiring you to parry, time blows, and execute combos. There's a large world to explore, from oceanside towns to white-capped mountains. And it's promising an infinite universe with countless players and parties and guilds and world bosses and dungeons. It's all basically slowly turning out to be what they were originally promising, which is surprising in this genre. Being a VR game does limit who can or would want to play it, but VR has been struggling to find its place in gaming, and it's a good thing that some games are finding their footing with the tech. Zenith does not have any specific release window, so you can check it out as it is today and see if it's something for you. Then we have Soulframe by Digital Extremes. Free-to-play, open-world adventuring heavily influenced by themes of nature, restoration, and exploration. This is said to be an action hybrid MMORPG. Okay, besides a pretty epic cinematic trailer, we haven't seen much else, and I'd expect little is set in stone right now. Since this is from the Warframe devs, you could expect it to have some similarities to that, but it's been stated to be, quote, a totally new game. So there will probably be significant differences to Warframe, which would make sense. Warframe is very successful, and making the same game in a different setting and competing with their own product, that doesn't sound like a good idea. I say successful, Warframe is floating around the top 10 to 15 most played games on Steam based on concurrent players. So it's currently one of the most popular games in the world. Now, the concept of nature and humanity colliding is at the center of this world. So we can expect conflicts and styles to be based around that. No release window has been announced, and this is a recent reveal. So we're just gonna have to sit back and wait for more news on Soulframe. For the final main entry, but remember there's bonus games after this, is League of Legends: The MMO by Riot Games. That's not the actual name of the game or the title, it's just what we gotta call it right now. Not much is known about the upcoming MMORPG from Riot Games. We know it's not officially announced, just talked about in passing if anything, and a blog post here and there. It's meant to be set in Runeterra, in the League of Legends universe. But it has been said that not everyone will love it, as they're not trying to make a crowd pleaser. But basically, we don't have anything here, and it could be a surprise reveal over the coming year or so. In fact, there's no guarantee this will ever ship at all, as even MMOs that are already playable often get cancelled or abandoned. So for something that we've seen nothing of, it could really go either way. At the moment, any information out there is either speculation or tentative. So it will be interesting keeping an eye on the currently in development League of Legends MMO, what's sometimes called the Runeterra MMO. Alright, now for a bunch of bonus games, but if you made it this far, you probably enjoyed your time here, and it would be greatly appreciated if you could like, subscribe, share this video, and ring that bell, as it really does help keep this channel running, and lists like these being made. Also, you can support more directly by using the GOG or Humble referral links to buy games or support directly on Patreon to really help push what I do further. All linked down below, along with the Discord community, Twitch live streams, and my Twitter, where I'm active and contactable. Now, for some games I didn't mention in the main list, they're sort of on the horizon. There's Hegemony 2, which is sort of, it was originally a Minecraft mod, but they decided to split off and make a whole proper game. So that's currently on the way, but no footage or anything yet. There's Bella Torres, which is supposedly a multi-million-dollar massive MMORPG project that some say will release towards the end of 2022, but I don't know, maybe. And then there's Ares Rise of Guardians, which is a sci-fi MMO, which also might be releasing towards the end of 2022. That's the expectation, but maybe not as well, so we'll see how that goes. Untamed Isles. This was highly anticipated and raised a significant sum of money on Kickstarter, but apparently a number of key investors were based in the crypto market, and with the crypto crash, game development is now on hiatus. And it's said that there is no money left to continue. So that's unfortunate. And then we've got some MMORPGs that have been in development forever. I've listed these for years, most of them. When I say forever, I mean years and years and years. They've been in development. And I'm just gonna list them out here. There's Camelot Unchained, Ashes of Creation, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, City of Titans, Ship of Heroes, Gloria Victis, Project Gorgon, and Antilia. See, I've been listing upcoming MMORPGs for years, and games like these make it very hard to make upcoming lists, because you end up listing the same games year in, year out. They stay in alpha or beta or early access for so long that the concept of upcoming loses all meaning. So yeah, there are many MMORPGs I didn't include in the main list this year or even mention in the bonus section, but I thought I'd focus on newer games that more people haven't heard of, or have a better chance of having some kind of new release in the next couple years. Having said that, there are likely to be surprise announcements through 2023 as well, so the MMORPG genre is an ever-changing and unpredictable landscape. But I do put a lot of effort into this list to at least try give you a snapshot so that you guys are kept in the know. Anyway, that's 15 plus upcoming MMORPGs that should be releasing through 2023 and some into 2024 depending on their development. Which one are you most interested in? Also, here's something I'd like to know. What's the longest you've ever played an MMO? On and off or continuously? A few months, a few years, decades? I've never really been able to commit to an MMO for a long time, so wondering how it's been for you. Meanwhile, if you'd like to see more upcoming games, this is only one list of many, so drop by the other upcoming games list videos for so much more. The other genres I've covered this year are at the top of the screen. Take your pick. Alright, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful, and I'll see you in the next video.